Hey, PSP, can I ask you a question real quick?
Sure.
Isn't it fair to say, this is just a sentiment of mine. I could be wrong. Feel free. Isn't it safe to say that Jokic is disrespected because he's a European player? Because the thing is, we've seen superstars in Denver. Denver's a small market, but we've seen superstars. We saw Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. We saw Dikembe Mutombo
Mutombo,
excel
Carmelo
in that
Anthony.
market. We saw Carmelo Anthony. We saw Chauncey Billups. We saw a multitude of guys excel in that market. Do you
I
think
do.
him being a European player has anything to do with that?
I think so. I also think the fact that unlike most superstars, he doesn't have a social media. I think what is it about Jokic you don't like? Because he's a European, because he's not known for athleticism or hops? Is it because the media loves him because of the advanced numbers, the PER, everything else that he represents? I mean, if you actually look at the numbers this season for the ratings for women's college basketball and men's college basketball, I think they're even more than the NBA Finals last year.
Mm-hmm.
That should tell you something.
Yeah.
But when Jokic, he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer easily.
Yeah.
I mean, I still have him as the best basketball player in the NBA. They just not. I think people just knock on him because social media, defense, although he has played better defense compared to what he previously did last season. He's definitely in better condition than what he was early in his career. I think during the time of the lockout, you saw some pictures of Jokic looking more in better shape and better condition.
Yeah.
I just think it's a culmination of things. That's
Right.
what I look at. Yes, I do think the European factor that definitely plays a factor, but I also think the market, I also think the style of basketball that he plays as well, and why they use that. And I think I just love Jokic because he puts up these types of numbers for a guy his size. And Jokic, if he wins another championship with another MVP and Finals MVP, we're gonna have to have a discussion. Is he a top 5 center of all time?
I would put him there already.
You would put
So
him over
I,
Moses?
but for me, it's the overall. For me, it's the overall statistics on top of the accolades. Particularly for me, it's particularly be getting 3 MVPs from a center position, which is pretty unheard of, and then the championships along with it. I would put him up there if he was to win a championship and was to get another league MVP. I'd put him up there because I mean, and I know you got to. I mean, because like you have Shaq, you have Kareem, you have Hakeem, you have Wilt, who just for me, Wilt still is just people talk about. Okay, he played and he. This is why I don't like the whole disrespecting the era argument because you still have to respect and measure what he did for his time and how he dominated. Jokic
Mm-hmm.
for me, Jokic. So Wilt for me is in my top five, and if Jokic was to win another championship and another league MVP, he goes right in for me. He goes right in.
So BRF, just to be clear, your top 5 centers of all time. I know you got Kareem, you got Shaq. Who else do you have? Bill Russell. You got Hakeem in there.
I don't. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. I do not have Bill Russell in my
Mm,
top five.
wow.
I don't have Bill Russell in my top five, and everybody's like, "Oh, well, look at the championships he won." It's totality for me. It's yeah, he has the 11 championships, but I mean, for me, it's the stats and the overall just level of play. Even though he was good for his time, I look at a guy like Hakeem Olajuwon, who is arguably he. I mean, you can make a case he's arguably the greatest two-way player in the history of the sport with his
One,
offense and with his offense and his defense.
yes.
I definitely have Akeem up there, and just I understand Bill was the championship guy of his era. I'm taking Wilt. Just overall statistically, the domination. Yeah, he doesn't have the championships, but I'm just looking at the overall totality.
I
So
don't
my
blame you for. I
so,
don't blame you, BRF, if
yeah,
you
so
pick Hakeem over Bill, because when I look at Hakeem, even though Kareem has the most unstoppable move, but the most unbelievable is the dream shake. For a guy of Akeem's size, remember he's from Nigeria,
Right.
that soccer background. You know, he has tremendous footwork, nice soft touch with the fadeaway shot. Also can give you great defense as well. One of 3 players to win MVP and Defensive Player that year. The other 2 men are Michael Jordan and Giannis Antetokounmpo. He also won MVP, Defensive Player, NBA Championship, and Finals MVP in the same year as well. So I mean you can't go wrong with Hakeem. He's actually one of my favorite players to watch besides
Yeah.
Allen Iverson.
Yeah. If I had to go my top 5 centers right now, Kareem is my 1. For me, it's a toss up between Shaq and Hakeem being 2 for 3. I'm gonna lean ever so slightly because of how dominant he was. I'm gonna lean Shaq, then Hakeem, then Wilt, and for now I do have Bill, but Jokic is like he's starting to knock on the door a little bit, particularly if he gets a cup like that MVP and another championship. He's starting to knock on the door a little bit, and his offensive game is just something you just don't see that from a center. His ability to score, his ability to rebound, still, basically him being a point center is basically what he is. Just being able to oversee the floor from that position. So he is coming. He's knocking at the door. He's really knocking at the door.
Absolutely.